Hi guys, it's X. Welcome back to my channel. On today's video, we are going to be discussing a very hard topic on advanced directives and why I think at any age, well, I guess over 18, you should have an advanced directive. So before you swipe me away or click me out of this video, please like, comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Okay, advanced directive. You're probably in your 30s. You might have a family, you might not. Why am I suggesting you get one? Well, okay. I have seen and worked in trauma for about 2 years now, and even though these situations are not always very common, I definitely believe that you should have this difficult conversation early on with your family on an advanced directive. And what is that? Basically a legal document telling us if anything were to happen to you, who would be in charge of your care and what kind of interventions would you like. And it basically just tells us how to handle your care when you cannot make decisions for yourself anymore. And why I think this is an important topic to talk about is because sometimes in the hospital, even though we can do things, we shouldn't. And I know that's going to be controversial, but I'm going to talk to you about my point of view and how religion plays into this and why I think an advanced directive is a good thing. Too many times in the hospital have I seen people come in and they don't have an advanced directive. And now you put the burden on someone else to make these decisions with you. And a lot of times families don't talk about these things, don't talk about getting intubated. They don't talk about life-sustaining things such as a trach, which is a permanent, not always permanent, but a permanent breathing tube, a permanent feeding tube, which would be a PEG, or life-sustaining medications. I don't feel like the public is very educated on these things, so it's a topic that I wanted to discuss because sometimes people feel like, or they say, I don't want to be put on a ventilator. I don't want to be kept artificially alive. But you don't necessarily understand that just because we put you on a ventilator doesn't mean that it's going to be long term. Yes, we might put you on a ventilator and there's a chance that you may never come off of it, but there is a chance that we put you on a ventilator and it's just to rest your body and then you can come off of it. So in that sense is where I kind of want to educate you on things like that and why I feel having an advanced directive is important. I've seen many times where families, it just amazes me how many times people fall and have a catastrophic bleed, or they get ran over, or they are just, something tragic happens, or they get an illness where you don't know what is going to happen. You can't speak for yourself, and now your family, either your wife, your sibling, or your parent has to make this decision for you. That is a tough burden to put on somebody who doesn't know what to do. I had a mother once who was like, I just wish my daughter could wake up and tell me what she wants, whether we stop all treatment or we continue all treatment. Why? Because to be honest with you, if I couldn't speak for myself, bathe myself, feed myself, or clean my own poop up, I would not want to live. But that is just me, and that's my personal opinion. That doesn't mean that the next person is going to have the same personal opinion. So let's say you were in a tragic car accident and you have a brain bleed that is permanent, but you are in a persistent vegetative state. If I were to tell you that you are never going to recover, you're never going to wake up, you're never going to feed yourself again, you're never going to be able to do the things you love, what would you want? Would you want me to put a permanent breathing tube, a permanent feeding tube, and send you off to a long-term care facility where you're basically going to live there until you die? Would you want me to do those things and send you home on a ventilator, or possibly not, and have your family take care of you until you die? These are decisions that you have to ask yourself what you would want. Just because that's not what I would want doesn't mean that's what you would want. If that is what you would want, then it would be great for us to know so that we can go ahead and do that. But if that's not what you want, a lot of times families have a hard time letting go. And like I said earlier, just because we can do something doesn't mean we always should. It's sad. It is sad when we see families struggle, like, I don't want to make the decision, this is not fair, like, they don't want to let them go. But at the same time, they don't know what to do. And this is why I think you should decide for yourself before you cannot. My grandpa, when he passed away, he told me, if I can't wipe my butt anymore, what's the point in living? My grandpa was 95. So when it came time for them to ask us what we're gonna do, whether we wanted to put the breathing tube, feeding tube, and send him to a place, the answer was absolutely no, because I knew what he wanted. I knew he did not want to live like that. And so it was not fair for me, out of a selfish need to keep him alive and keep him with me, to do that to him when I 100% knew that was not his wishes. However, every situation is different, and this is kind of where religion plays in, because there are a lot of families that don't want to play God. However, in a sense, in my opinion, by keeping somebody alive artificially, we're already playing God. That's just, a thought to think about. And it's controversial because, okay, maybe God gave us these machines to keep these people alive so they can live a long time. However, is it fair to keep someone alive because we don't want to let go? I don't know. That is your decision with your family to make. Is it fair to continue to resuscitate and do all these things that are potentially hurting these people because you don't know what decision to make, or you don't want to let go? I don't know. That is another decision for you to make. Or is it fair for us to just let somebody go and we never know what they wanted, and that is stuck in the back of your head? See, these are the differences between my situation with my grandpa and situations of people with an unknown. My grandpa was able to verbalize to me that he did not want these things. He was able to tell me that he did not want to live with feeding tubes, breathing tubes, and urinary tubes, and possibly stool tubes. Like, he did not want to live like that. So the decision was very easy for me to make. But what if he wasn't? What if it was my father and I didn't know? Or my mother, who has specifically told me, I don't want to live like that. Okay, but that doesn't mean that, and this is where the clear line draws, and where you have to absolutely understand the difference between putting on a ventilator to rest your body so that you can recover, and being put on a ventilator because you need it for the rest of your life. I had to explain that to my mother because she told me I don't ever want to live like that. Okay, but in an acute situation, we might have to, just to make sure you do live longer. There is a possibility. And in some instances, there is no possibility. And that's when we would withdraw care and not pursue with a permanent tube. There have been people who get the permanent breathing tube, feeding tube, and in a couple months they recover and they get them removed and they get to go home. And then there's unfortunate cases where they get these tubes and they're in a long-term care facility for the rest of their lives. So this is definitely a conversation that you absolutely should have with your family. I know it is not an easy one, and it is the hardest conversation to have, but I think I would rather talk about it and know what you want than be put or thrown into a situation where I don't know what you want and now I have to make the decisions. It's going to be easier not feeling like it is a burden or on your family, where you feel like, okay, maybe my husband would not want to live like this, but we never talked about it, yet I have kids who think I'm killing their father. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys all discuss this is what is going to happen in these situations, there's no question, there's no doubt, there's no second guessing, is this the right choice? Is this not? It is hard to let someone go, and it is the hardest thing to decide for somebody else what to do, especially when all this chaos and all this stuff is going on. So just save yourself a lot of heartache, save yourself a lot of grief, and have this conversation, because you'll be surprised. There was a episode of Grey's Anatomy where Miranda and her husband they're both in healthcare, and Miranda's like, oh, if anything happens like that to me, let me go. And her husband's like, no, if anything happens to like that with me, do everything to keep me alive. And she was like, wait, what? Like, you might not know what your husband, your sister, your dad, your mother's wishes are. So just have that hard conversation, put it in a documentation, make your lives easier. Thank you for watching.